Okay, there we go. Okay, so as I said, welcome along. The session today is about menstruation in sport. It is myself that's delivering it, and of course it is April 2020. Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but when I was younger, when we talked about menstruation, all I thought about was the actual time when I was actually menstruating, which is really just this first little week here, even the first 5 days. Everything else that was happening was kind of a mystery to me. I didn't understand any of this. I'm presuming quite a lot of you don't understand and realise that there are changes throughout the full 4 weeks. That as athletes and as people, we need to understand a bit more in order to be proactive about how we deal with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little look through the cycle, discuss it with you, and look at the different things that happen at the different stages, and give you a little bit of insight into kind of things that you should be doing, which will help you in the long run there, and hopefully help you fulfill your full potential, as athletes. So it's split into 4 phases. Week 1 is the menstrual phase. Week 2 is what they call the follicular phase, although what I'm going to call it is the estrogen phase, just because it makes it a bit more simpler for me. Week 3, we'll call the progesterone phase, which is actually ovulation, and week 4, which is the luteal phase, which we'll call the premenstrual phase, so that's like the week before. I know some of you won't be menstruating yet. That is fine. I'm sure you've covered some of it in school. We're not going to look into that at all. All we're going to look at is how it actually affects us as athletes and what we need to do. So phase 1, the menstrual phase, okay? So this is when people are actually actively bleeding. The estrogen and progesterone levels are at their low. So these are just 2 different hormones that vary, and the levels change throughout the month within females. Now, the week before this, the progesterone has just dropped quite rapidly. What that means is there's an inflammatory response, and so things start happening inside your body which causes side effects. So it might cause cramps, it might cause fatigue, it might cause problems sleeping. Any kind of side effects are pretty much down to this hormone dropping and giving off a different response. People are obviously a bit more prone to side effects, and it is down to how individually we react to these different hormones. Week 1, the white cell count is quite low, so there is an increased risk of illness. So it's extremely important that we fuel correctly and we optimise sleep. A lot of today is going to be to do with fueling and to do with getting the right foods into your body at the right times, because there are certain foods you should be eating at certain times to help yourself out. It's not all negative. Our ability in mental rotation tasks is apparently increased. So it's a good time to learn a complex skill requiring good coordination. So if you're trying to learn a new drill in the pool or in any of your other sports or a new mental activity, this is probably the time to be doing it, okay? Because mentally our rotation tasks are quite good there. So what does that mean for us? What does phase 1 mean for us, okay? Probably a maximum benefit from HIIT and strength training. So for those of you who don't know, HIIT is high intensity interval training and strength training. So for you little guys, that's your body weight stuff. It's some of the work we did with Katie, with the TheraBands, the resistance bands and things like that. Older guys will be involved in the weights there. Okay, HIIT's kind of like your circuit. So maximum effort and then rest in between. Okay, so it's little short bursts. What we need to know is that exercise of moderate intensity can actually help reduce side effects. Okay, so although we maybe don't feel like exercising, although we might be feeling pretty tired, pretty yucky and be having these side effects, if you have some moderate intensity exercise, it does have an anti-inflammatory effect, so that can help. Exercise also increases the release of endorphins, which can help reduce tension. Again, tension can help manifest some of the side effects, so they can make them worse there if you're feeling tense. The main thing for you guys to know is that it's important to include muscle activation exercises in your warm-up, okay? This is because in this phase, our neuromuscular control is reduced. So that means when your brain is sending little signals to your muscles, your muscles might not be quite getting the message. Now, one of the things that I learned when I was at this course back in February with Adam was that females, because we have a tilted pelvis, females actually find it harder to activate the posterior chain muscles, so the muscles that go up the back of your legs into your glutes. Because your pelvis is tilted, some females find it really hard to activate those muscles. So although you think you're using them, you're actually not. So it's important that you do get some muscle activation exercises into your glutes, but also into your full body in your warm up, and that'll help your muscles to be actually working in the pool. Okay, there is an increase in inflammation, as I said, which means it takes longer to recover, so it should be an increased focus on recovery. For recovery, we're talking about how you fuel, so what you eat, also your cool down exercises, also your sleep in there, okay? So from a nutrition point of view, as you know, we will be bleeding in this part here, so your energy levels will be dropping, okay? So it's important that you increase your intake of carbohydrates before your session to make sure you've got enough energy to get you through the session. If you increase foods which are rich in vitamin D and calcium, fish oils and B vitamins, these are all anti-inflammatory foods. So these can help prevent some of the side effects that you might get because they reduce the inflammation. As well, increasing foods with antioxidant properties, so blueberries, kiwi and strawberries, etc. Again, this is all aimed at offsetting these side effects. And also lots of iron-rich foods, okay? As I said, iron is one of the first things to drop. My daughter, who I spoke about earlier, her ferritin level was sitting down at 14, which the doctor said was fine. Apparently for athletes, we need that level to be 30 or above. So if you are ever tired and your parents take you to the doctors and the doctor says your level's fine, I would always ask to see a copy of those bloods, just so you can compare it to what you actually need compared to maybe someone who's not exercising the same amount that you guys are. Now, as well as the iron-rich foods, sources of vitamin C to help our body absorb the iron, because sometimes your body can't absorb iron that well. Vitamin C helps it. So all this will help with fatigue, and it will also help reduce the side effects, okay? So fueling properly during that first phase is vital. Okay, then we move on to phase 2. Proper name, the follicular phase. We don't need to know that just now. I'll call it the estrogen phase. The reason being that we've got high levels of estrogen in this level, but low levels of progesterone. So one of the hormones has really spiked up, the other one's still relatively low there. The increase in estrogen means we might feel more positive and alert, which is a good thing. As the phase goes on, you'll feel your energy levels starting to increase. Your blood sugar's pretty stable, so you might notice a reduction in appetite in comparison to some of the other phases that I'm going to come on to later. And at this point, your blood pressure is actually at the lowest point during the cycle. So everything up until now looking pretty good. We're positive, we're alert, our energy's coming up. We've not got those cravings, our appetite's pretty stable, blood pressure's down. And there is an increase in the repair of muscle tissue. Okay, so your muscles are better at repairing themselves during this phase. So it means there's an increased recovery from intense training. I know that my guys are aware of this. I don't know whether the guys from M&B know, but when you do intense training, what you're actually doing is all the little fibres in your muscles are actually tearing, so you're breaking them. And then it's when they repair and come back together, that's when they're stronger, okay? So this is what it's talking about, the increase in the repair of muscle tissue is increased during this stage. There's also an increase in the antioxidant release because estrogen releases antioxidants, which again will help with the adaptation and recovery from exercise. So everything's looking quite rosy here. So as I said, for your training, there's an increased adaptation to high intensity and strength training. That means your body adapts from it and is then able to get pushed on to the next sort of level. The way it works in training is we work hard and then we have a little bit of recovery, and that's when your body adapts there, and then we're stepping up. So it's basically like going upstairs. Okay, you'd be then ready to move up onto the next stair, the next level there. Energy and strength levels will rise to a peak. This is the thing you need to work watch for, and this is something that is important for us to know. In phase 2, so in this, the estrogen phase, there is a need for a proactive warm-up, okay? So it needs to be more progressive and thorough, especially if you're making any short or sharp movements. The reason being, although estrogen is all very good for your muscles, it's not so good for your soft tissue. So your ligaments in that aren't quite as stiff as normal, so you're more prone there to soft tissue injury. So it is important that you really do a proactive warm-up there. I would say that particularly for people that are going to be doing breaststroke, this might help reduce knee injuries, etc. Because I didn't know this, now I do. I will be making my swimmers aware, but it's something to make sure. Phase 2, so that's the second week of your cycle, make sure you're getting that warm-up in there, make sure it's a proactive one, okay, because we don't want any soft tissue damage. Although you may feel stronger, recovery is still important. So it's still important that you're fueling properly. It's still important that you are resting enough as well. So as in phase 1, sessions of over an hour require an increase in carbohydrates before your session. If you're training more intensely than normal, make sure you consume protein and carbohydrates as soon as possible after your session. This is important here. The protein will help with the muscle repair, and it helps speed up the recovery process. Now, a lot of you will know the ideal window is 20 minutes. So when you finish a training session, we're meant to be eating within that first 20 minutes in order to maximise the recovery. It does help speed up the recovery process there. And with the amount of sessions you guys are doing a week, be that in the pool or in the gym, or the amount of sessions you're going to be doing as you move through, it's important that we are recovering properly. If we don't recover, we're not really fit for the next session, and then we're just going to be working backwards. So protein and carbs as soon as possible after your session. This is a bit that's good here for your tendons and your ligaments. Include sources of collagen such as jelly, along with vitamin C rich foods to help with muscle, tendon and ligament recovery. As I said, your ligaments are a little bit vulnerable in this phase, so it is important that we look after them. It's also important that you meet your energy requirements by fueling regularly. I do believe a lot of girls are running on energy deficiencies because they're not aware of a lot of stuff, and they're not aware of how much the cycle actually takes out their body, as well as all the training that they're trying to do. I have got a panel over there. Okay, so phase 3. This is the progesterone phase, so that's the other hormone, okay? It's actually the ovulation phase, but again, we will refer to it as the progesterone. I think it's easier for us to think of it in terms of those two hormones, the menstrual week and the week after. Okay, so estrogen levels are decrease, then both of them increase and remain high. So the progesterone towards the end is higher than your estrogen levels. Okay, you may experience pain at the beginning of this phase. This is because this is when your ovulation occurs. So you may experience pain at the beginning of phase 3. If you do, that's the reason, okay? This is something that we need to know, again, something I wasn't aware of. Our body temperature rises by 0.3 degrees Celsius during this phase. That's our basal body rate, body temperature, which can disrupt sleep. So you might find you've got problems falling asleep or staying asleep there because you are slightly warmer. The increase in progesterone levels can also cause an increased breathing rate and heart rate. Now that's both at rest and during exercise. So if you're in the pool and your heart rate's higher than normal, it may be because you're in phase 3. Again, this is when the cravings start to come in due to unstable blood sugar levels. So you might start to experience some cravings in there. Also an increase in your feelings of emotion and empathy, and possibly a little bit lethargic as well. Hormones, these two hormones, they don't just affect us physically, they also affect us emotionally as well as mentally as well with some of the stuff. However, the increased progesterone also increases your white blood cells and the neutrophils, which may provide some immunoprotection. So during this phase, although everything else is going on, the temperature's away, you're breathing, your heart rate's up, you might be in some pain, your blood sugar levels are all over the place. Can whoever's writing on my screen please stop it? it will provide you with some immunoprotection there, so it will provide you with some protection against some diseases, okay, and some illnesses. If you're sensitive to progesterone, it may give you extra breathing difficulties, because progesterone, if you're sensitive, can cause inflammation in the airways, particularly if you already have breathing problems as it is. So phase 3, if you're finding that, it may be due to the progesterone causing inflammation in the airways. So what does all that mean for us? So all training types are beneficial. If your energy levels are low, which they might be, it's good to consolidate learning from phase 2. Now this is something that I will go into later about sort of tracking how you're feeling and how any side effects that you have. But if it's low, it's maybe good just to consolidate what you've done in phase 2 rather than trying to push yourself body harder in phase 3. It is a great time to focus on improving flexibility and low-level conditioning, particularly if you feel that your energy levels aren't as high as they sometimes are. Recovery again may take longer, so it is important that you focus on your recovery strategies. Now, during phase 3, you may require a carbohydrate source during your workout to maintain energy levels. So you may need to actually have something during your training session there to stop you having those little energy dips. Breakdown of muscle is also increased in this phase, okay, so your muscles are breaking down quicker than usual. So it is important that you consume between 20 to 30 grams of protein both before and after a training session. After is to speed up the recovery. The before is just to try and protect your muscles a little bit. So we're trying to offset the breakdown in muscles by being proactive and doing something about it, getting the protein in there to help boost them, and then getting the protein in to help repair them. Protein does help speed up the recovery process in your muscles. Now, to reduce energy dips, choose snacks that include complex carbs and protein. Okay, the complex carbs because they release energy slower, the protein because of the increase in breakdown of muscle during this phase. We're coming up to phase 4, so it is important that you start to include anti-inflammatory and antioxidant-rich foods to help prepare for phase 4. The reason for that is if you get them into your system now, it may stop you getting side effects in phase 4. Increase in temperature may alter your sweat rates as well. Okay, so you might need to be hydrating more. I know it is only 0.3 degrees Celsius, but that can still have an effect. So it is important that you are hydrating and you are aware that there is that small increase in your basal temperature there. Okay, so phase 4, this is a luteal phase. We will call it the premenstrual phase, which basically means the week before menstruation, okay? So the week before that. Your estrogen and progesterone levels drop to their lowest point. So you've had all these hormones in there, suddenly they've all gone. The decrease in hormones sets off this inflammatory response, which does result in premenstrual side effects. So that's where the cramps come in, that's where the fatigue comes in, that's where anything side effect wise, disruptions in sleep, it's because of this inflammatory response there due to all those hormones disappearing. Again, increase in inflammation reduces your ability to recover, so still important that you focus on your recovery strategies. We have an increased insulin sensitivity, which means you're altering your blood sugar there, but it will mean possibly an increase in appetite and cravings. Because the hormones have dropped, it can affect your sleep, which can affect concentration, alertness, and performance. Okay, so you might not be as alert as you usually are, struggling to concentrate. You might be struggling to get to sleep. You might also be waking up more often during this phase as well. What we need to remember is that increase in stress levels worsen side effects. So if it's impossible, reduce stress via yoga and Pilates, etc. Yoga and Pilates is very good for swimmers anyway, because they're all about flexibility, they're all about that core stability. So bringing them into phase 4 will help reduce stress, help bring down side effects. It is a win-win situation there. Now, the changing hormone levels alter your neurobiology. So that just means neuro is all to do with your brain, so the biology that's going on up here, and that can disrupt your mood. It can also affect your breathing patterns. Okay, so If you hear sometimes someone say about a female, they're hormonal, it's not that they're hormonal, it's just that their brain is struggling to cope with all these changes in hormone levels. As I said, some people are more sensitive than others, which is why some people have side effects, some people don't. Some people can get them pretty bad at times. Okay, so what does that mean for us? Everything I just spoke about there, what does that mean for us? Again, all forms of exercise are beneficial. Light and moderate exercise are effective in easing your premenstrual side effects there. Try to include yoga and Pilates, like I said. Exercise can also help elevate the mood. You've all heard it. In this day where we talk about mindfulness, exercise helps release those endorphins, those happy endorphins that make you feel good. So that can help elevate your mood there as well. The thing that you need to know for this phase is that it's vital you get the fueling right. Okay, you're about to come on to phase 1, where you're going to be losing a lot of things, losing a lot of vitamins, using a lot of iron. Okay, so regular fueling is vital. Focus on fibre, complex carbohydrates and protein. To help reduce any side effects, anti-inflammatory and antioxidant rich foods are essential. So oily fish, eggs, nuts, fruit and vegetables. Foods that are rich in vitamin D, calcium, magnesium, fish oils and B vitamins can also help with side effects. We say reduce processed foods because there have been some research done and it's shown that processed foods can actually make side effects worse. So that's why we say reduce any processed foods. This is a good one, and this only applies in this phase. Include foods which promote the release of sleep-inducing melatonin, so such as bananas, grapes, oats and walnuts. Something some people are doing as well is tart cherry juice. Is a big thing as well, but there are foods that will help release that sleep-inducing melatonin, which will hopefully mean less problems with sleep in phase 4. So things to remember, okay? Fueling properly for each phase is vital in maintaining iron, vitamins, energy levels and reducing side effects. And it's not the same fuel that you need in each phase. So there are certain times when you need to really upping it, your levels in certain types of foods, and other times for other ones. Phase 1, we do have increased coordination, but there is a greater risk of illness, and iron is extremely important in phase 1. Phase 2, we do have that increased adaptation to high intensity and strength training, but again, there's also that higher risk of tendon and ligament damage. So making sure that we are doing that proactive warm up there. Phase 3, protein is vital due to the increased muscle breakdown. So we need to make sure that we're getting protein both before our sessions and after our sessions and throughout that whole phase. But it is also a good time to focus on flexibility and aerobic conditioning. And phase 4, concentration and performance may be affected. It's important that you focus on recovery strategies, and it is important that you stock up on anti-inflammatory and antioxidants as well to offset those side effects. Now, I did say this was not a talk on periods. I will just mention it briefly for those of you possibly that aren't quite dealing with it yet. The practicalities. Products, that is entirely a personal choice. I know that some people swim using no products. It is a bit harder to manage at competitions with marshalling, but if they're in the pool then straight into the changing rooms, they don't have an issue. Some people are happy to use tampons, and we do get smaller sized ones of those. I wasn't comfortable at a young age using them, so I wouldn't ever tell anybody else to use them. There are now swim bikini bottoms that you can get for during your menstruation, which you can wear under your swimming costumes. I've bought some of them for Emma, so she'll be trying them out when we eventually get back in the pool. The main thing is, can you still swim? Yes, you can, and you should, because although you're maybe getting side effects, hopefully the tips that I've given you will mean that those side effects get reduced, but the exercise will help, and that will help you cope with them. So this is the main thing for you guys. The next steps, okay? There is an app which is called Fitter Women app, okay? An absolutely amazing app. It contains basically everything that I've spoke to you about today is contained in this app. It breaks it down into 4 phases. It breaks it down and tells you what's happening with your body during that phase. It tells you what the implications are for exercising. It also talks you through the nutrition things. As well as that, there are recipes for each phase as well. So if you're not sure, I need to be taking antioxidants, what can I be taking? There are recipes in there as well. A new feature which I noticed today is along the top there are some articles on certain things. There is a minimum age for downloading this app. I think it's 13 or 14. I don't fully understand it because I know swimmers as young as 9 who've started menstruating. So do they just have to deal with it on their own until they're 13, 14? And then suddenly they get access to this information? I don't think that's particularly fair, which is why I'm trying to get the information out to you guys as soon as possible, now that I'm aware the information is there. But there are some interesting articles up the top to read, all based in scientific research. And hopefully will make this process better for you to help better support you through your swimming career. Start tracking your cycle, okay? It lets you do that on the app, just to make sure that it is regular, your cycle there. I explained that my daughter was every 2 weeks, which wasn't ideal. As you progress through and you're up in your training, sometimes if you end up going energy deficient, you can start missing menstruating, and that's not healthy either. That means that we're not healthy. There's something happening there where we're not fueling enough, and that needs to be logged. Okay, so it is important that you start tracking your cycle. Start tracking side effects as well, so you can see when you're getting side effects, and you can see if there's something you can do to stop them happening. Liaison with your coach. So if you didn't sleep well because you're in phase 4, tell your coach, let them know. Your coach isn't a mind reader. But if you talk through you've got side effects, that will help them and better support you in the pool and better adapt your training. Doesn't matter if you miss that hard session that day and they step it back, they can up it for you the following week. So there will be that give and take there. The main thing is empower yourself with the knowledge of how to use your cycle to your benefit whilst minimising negative side effects. I have gone 41 years. So that's 31 years of being a menstruating female, and I didn't know any of this stuff until I went to the course back in February with Adam. And I do believe that that's why females struggle in the sport when they get to a certain age. And I believe it's because they don't have this knowledge, they don't have these tips to support them. They're possibly not feeling right, although they think they're feeling right, they're not. They don't know that different foods offset different side effects. They don't know when to maximise different things in their training, things like that. So I am hoping this will have a very positive impact on you and your swimming career. As I said, the Fitter Women app, if you're not old enough to download it, I'm sure your parent will download it for you and they'll let you track it through their phone there, okay? 2 seconds, I will come out of here and we'll see if we've got any questions. So I'm going to do this here.